Good afternoon and happy Blue Friday. From the KUOW newsroom, this is Seattle Now. I'm Paige Browning with a roundup of today's top stories. It's Friday, January 23rd. Starting with a merging of two cities, Sound Transit announced today that March 28th is when light rail on the east side will connect to Seattle. Joshua McNichols is covering today's announcement.
Elected leaders like Claudia Balducci listed off all the obstacles that this project has faced since it was originally approved by voters back in 2008. There were court challenges, technical problems, and a pandemic, and now this thing is closer to opening than ever. And, more than just making it convenient for people to commute across the lake, this light rail line will bring the two economies of Bellevue and Seattle closer together than ever before, bringing up the idea that they could become twin cities with joint economies and joint housing markets.
That was Joshua McNichols reporting. More details about the connection are expected later this spring. Washington State has officially signed on to oppose the massive ICE and Border Patrol deployment happening in Minneapolis. Washington Attorney General Nick Brown joined 19 other states today in filing an amicus brief to support Minnesota, which is suing the Trump administration. Minnesota's lawsuit argues the deployments are a federal abuse of power. A.G. Brown and the other amicus signatories are arguing for a judge to immediately halt deployments, which they say are illegal and have led to unconstitutional stops and arrests and the killing of Renee Good. It's been 1 year since President Donald Trump took the oath of office for the second time, a year in which Washington State has sued the administration 50 times. State Attorney General Nick Brown says the state has prevailed in all but a handful of those lawsuits. Brown says they've helped shield the state from some of Trump's policies.
We have saved $15 billion in cuts to Washington State. $15 billion that would have been cut from things like healthcare, education, public safety funding. All that collective impact is really significant.
Brown says he's especially proud of defending funding under the Federal Victims of Crime Act, which was set to be eliminated. Over this time, Washington State's Republican Party has criticized A.G. Brown, complaining he hasn't done enough to combat fraud. A story from Eastern Washington that's making headlines today. A 10-year-old Spokane girl and her father have been detained by immigration agents, and volunteers assisting with their asylum case say they're detained down in South Texas. They told the Spokesman Review that the father has an active asylum case. He has a valid work permit, a social security number, and no criminal record. Officers followed him after he dropped the girl off at school, and when agents said he'd be separated from his daughter, he signed papers saying he would leave the country voluntarily. His next court date is in March. Let's spin through a few of the political issues bubbling up this week. First, electric vehicle maker Rivian wants to sell directly to Washington consumers, and it's pushing a ballot measure that would allow it to do so. Right now, most electric car companies are barred from selling outside of dealerships. Only Tesla can do that because of a carve-out. The Washington State Standard reports Rivian plans to spend $4.6 million on a voter initiative. One initiative we're all but certain to see on the ballot this year, one to limit who can play girls' sports in Washington. Let's Go Washington backed this initiative targeting transgender girls and teenagers. The legislature refused to hold a debate on it this session, so that kicked it to the Secretary of State, who yesterday verified the initiative petition signatures. Opponents of this initiative say it contributes to an abusive environment for students and prevents trans girls from the benefits of sports involvement. And a third lawmaking note today. Lawmakers are considering a bill that would beef up restrictions on so-called ghost guns. Those are weapons that can be made with a 3D printer, allowing people to bypass background checks. Gun rights groups like the National Rifle Association opposed the bill. Legislators held a public hearing on it this week. The Seattle city attorney has charged a 24-year-old man with assault, alleging he used a Lime bike to approach women and slap or grab their rear ends in multiple incidents last spring. Amy Radel has more on this.
Seattle police say up to 17 women reported incidents last spring in which a man pulled up on a Lime bike or scooter to grab their buttocks before speeding off. Locations ranged from Pioneer Square to Belltown. The husband of one victim was able to get a photo of the suspect. The victim shared it, and other women came forward with similar accounts. Lime, the rental company, shut down the man's account and complied with a search warrant which allegedly matched at least 9 victims' reports to the man's trip history. Lakewood resident Harrison Brown has been charged with 1 count of 4th-degree assault with sexual motivation. He pleaded not guilty this month and was released to home monitoring and barred from using for-hire bicycles. Amy Radel, KUOW News.
Top officials in Washington state are hoping to forge stronger ties with our neighbors in British Columbia, even as tensions are high between the U.S. and Canada. Lieutenant Governor Denny Heck traveled to Vancouver this month and signed an agreement that's meant to promote more dialogue between Washington's legislature and British Columbia's Legislative Assembly.
We have a very close, long-standing relationship with them. And that, frankly, transcends what I hope are the very transitory issues of tension that have been brought about by President Trump.
Since retaking office in 2025, the Trump administration has threatened to make Canada the 51st state and stifled trade between the two countries with high tariffs. There's also been a decrease in visitors from Canada to Washington state. Seattle is going through its own version of dry January. The National Weather Service says Seattle has hit a 10-day streak and could be on track to break a record. Mostly clear skies and sunshine are expected between now and Tuesday afternoon. If the dry conditions continue, Seattle could meet or break the previous January dry streak, which is 15 days, set in 1963. It's a big football weekend, and Sound Transit is trying to make trips to Lumen Field for the Seahawks game on Sunday a little easier. They're adding additional Sounder trains from Lakewood and Everett, and the West Seattle Water Taxi is adding 3 post-game runs from Pier 50. And if you see a lot of blue and green in South Lake Union tonight, Seahawks fans are rallying at Lake Union Park. The Seahawks dancers and Blue Thunder Drumline will perform, and Blitz the mascot's going to be on hand. Gates open at 6. Next week on Seattle Now, there's a bill in the state legislature to restrict license plate readers that are used by police departments. And it's co-sponsored by a progressive and a conservative.
Both people kind of come together with concerns about a tyrannical government. Governmental power in the wrong hands could be used for ill.
Hear more Monday morning. That's all for today from the KUOW newsroom in Seattle. Our producer is Andy Hurst, and I'm Paige Browning. Seattle Now and KUOW are members of the NPR network. Have a great weekend, and go Hawks!